Hello everyone, this is Nursing Culture. So today we are going to learn about respiratory system. So what is respiratory system? Let's move into that. So respiratory system is the system of networks of organs and tissues that help to breathe. Means whatever air we are taking in and whatever air we are breathing out, that is only conducted by the respiratory systems, and again that is controlled by the nervous system, and it includes the airways, lungs and blood vessels. Means airways means it contains the nose, starting from nose, nasal cavity, then the oral cavity, then larynx, pharynx, trachea, and so many structures are there. And the main structure of the respiratory system is lungs and all the blood vessels that circulates the air or oxygen throughout the body. So all plays a very important role in the respiratory system. Next, the muscles that power lungs are also part of the respiratory systems. Obviously, the muscles are a very important role in the respiratory system. While we are breathing in, there are some muscles, that is the diaphragm and the external intercostal, internal intercostals, scalene and sternocleidomastoid. Every muscles are working, right? So those are play a very important role in the respiratory system. Then these parts work together to move oxygen throughout the body and clean out waste gases like carbon dioxide. So obviously the blood vessels play a very important role to move the oxygen throughout the body and clean out the gases like carbon dioxide. So while we are breathing in, we are taking the air, and apart from that the oxygen is going on into the body, and that works in the various metabolic process, and after that the unnecessary gas we need to breathe out, like the carbon dioxide, right? So in this way our respiratory system works. Moving forward, so here the structure of respiratory system. So the starting from, it starts from nasal cavity. Here you can see the nasal cavity, and there is opening of nostrils, and then we move forward to oral cavity. It connect with the oral cavity, then it also connect with the pharynx. Here the next structure is pharynx, then larynx, right? Then again it is connected to trachea. So this is the also we called wind pipe, right? Then the trachea is divided into, it is a strong pipe-like structure, long pipe-like structure. So it is divided into two types, right? Left main bronchus and right main bronchus. So the bronchus is entered into the lungs, each lungs. There is two lungs here. So again trachea is divided and enter into the lungs. Again it is all divided into so many types like bronchos, bronchioles, primary bronchioles, tertiary bronchioles, secondary bronchioles, right? And enter into the lungs and divided into so many parts. Again, there the alveoli is attached, which is the structural and functional unit of the lungs, right? So in that way, our respiratory structure is designed. And here you can see the dome-like structure present, that is the diaphragm, the major muscles of the respiratory system. Also, in between the two lungs, the heart is present, and the two lungs and heart is covered by the ribs, 12 pair of ribs. And in front, there is sternum is also present, bony structure. If we say what are the bony structures present and cover the lungs and heart, that is ribs and sternum in the front, and in the back there is scapula and the vertebra. Moving forward, what are the functions of respiratory system? So apart from the respiration, the respiratory system has so many functions. right? As we know, the respiratory system helps in our inhalation and exhalation. That is the breathe in and breathe out, right? Apart from that, that is the main function of the respiratory system. But apart from that, it helps to allow us to talk, like the larynx is present, so it helps to allow to talk and to smell, right? With the help of nose or nostrils. Then it brings air to body temperature and moisturizes it to the humidity level body needs. So it gives a temperature or moisturizes the body which it needs. Then also we know already it delivers oxygen to the cells in the body so that all the metabolic process is going on smoothly in our body. Then it removes all the waste gases including carbon dioxide from the body while exhalation or breathe out is happening. Next, it protects the airways from very harmful substances and irritants. There are some structures, mucous membrane are present in the nostrils. So it protects the airways from the very harmful substances and irritants. So let's talk about the organs that is present in respiratory system one by one. The first we can see in that structure is that is nasal cavity, right? So first here you can see the image of the nasal cavity. So it is divided into two halves, right and left, and divided by a septum, which is divided the nasal cavity into left and right. And also obviously there is the presence of mucous membrane present in it. Okay. So the entrance to nasal cavity is formed by anterior nostrils. So they contain small hairs which act as filter for dust. Right. So first what happens when the air enters into the nasal cavity, it filters all the harmful chemicals and all the dust, and then the air goes into the oral cavity or pharynx or larynx, right? Or to the lungs. So the back of the nasal cavity is contain posterior nares. Okay. Then they form the entrance to nasopharynx. So there is a connection between pharynx and nasal cavity. So that is called nasopharynx. Here you can see that is called nasopharynx. Okay. Next structure is pharynx. Okay, so here you can see the pharynx is divided into nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. So all structures are connected with each other. So pharynx is divided into three parts, that is nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Nasopharynx, that is what lies just behind the nasal cavity. So it attached with the nasal cavity and form the nasopharynx. And it contains opening for eustachian tube on lateral wall. So here you can see on the lateral side, it connected to the eustachian tube. So it also has opening there. Next structure is oropharynx. So it continues in front with mouth and below laryngeal part of pharynx. So it connects with both oral cavity and with the larynx, below larynx. So it has opening for both. And its lateral wall contain tonsils. Okay, in the besides, if you see, there is tonsils are present. Then laryngopharynx. So there the lower part lies behind the larynx. So it is connected with the larynx, so that it is called laryngopharynx. Also, there are the soft palate here present, the epiglottis are also present, and the cricoid cartilage is also present, which support the structures. So the next structure is larynx. So larynx, here we can see that is the voice box also we call because the sound is generated there, or vocal cords, right? So the hollow organ that allows you to talk and make sounds when air moves in and out, that structure is called larynx. So larynx is most important for talking. That's why it is called voice box. So it lies between the pharynx above and the trachea below. So there is two structures present here. That is the pharynx and the trachea. So in between that, the larynx is present and formed by the some of the cartilages. That is the thyroid cartilage is also present, cricoid cartilage is also present, to arytenoid cartilage is also present, and epiglottis cartilage is also present. So it is formed by so many cartilages. Next structure is that is the windpipe or trachea, also called. Why it called windpipe? Because it catch the air and supply to the different lungs, that is left lungs and right lungs. So here you can see it is a cylindrical kind of tube and the length is approximately 11 cm, and it begins with the lower end of pharynx and end with entering into the lungs. And it is made up of, I'm sorry for the spelling mistake, and 60 to 20 C-shaped incomplete cartilage. So here you can see there is a ring red structure. So it is C-shaped, right? Incomplete cartilages. So it is formed by that. So here you can see the trachea is divided into two and forming so many branches. That is, here you can see the bronchi first, then the primary bronchi, secondary bronchi, tertiary bronchi, and then bronchioles. And here you can see at the last branches, the alveoli are get attached, which is the structural and functional unit of respiratory system. Next structure is bronchi. So bronchi, here you can see the trachea is divided into and enter into the lungs. So that structure is called bronchi. So the trachea ends by dividing into two bronchi, namely right and left bronchi. So the pass to the corresponding lungs, that is the right and left lungs. So the right bronchitis is shorter and wider than the left. Remember that the right bronchitis is shorter and wider than the left. So bronchi are made up of complete rings of cartilages. So bronchi, here you can see there is the complete ring structure you can see of so many cartilages. It is formed by only the cartilages. In the next structure you can see the bronchioles. So they are formed by the division of bronchi. So as you can see, first the bronchi divide, and then the bronchioles divide and form the bronchi divide and form the bronchioles. So bronchioles are the finest branches of bronchi. So bronchioles do not have cartilages, and it is also divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchioles, and they are lined up by cuboidal epithelium. Okay, so the next structure you can see here is after the division of primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchioles. So they are again attached with alveoli, right? So they are the final termination of each bronchi. Okay, so they contain a thin layer of epithelial cells surrounded by numerous capillaries. Okay, that is here you can see there is numerous capillaries are attached with the bronchioles and form the alveoli, which is the main center for exchange of gases between the body and the blood vessels and the alveoli, right? That's why it is called the structural and functional unit of respiratory system. So here you can see the respiratory organs, that is the nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchiole, and alveoli, and pleura and muscles of breathing. So what is pleura? So the outer covering of the lungs is called pleura. And the muscles of breathing that you can see, that is the diaphragm here, and the intercostal muscles are there. Sorry for the spelling mistake. It is the intercostal muscles that is divided again into two, external intercostal and internal intercostal. Okay, so let's move on to the lung part. So that is the major or principal organ of the respiration. right? So there are two number, right lung and left lung, lying on one each side of the chest cavity and helping in our respiration. Two lungs are separated in the middle, lined by heart and other structures of mediastinum. So in between that, the mediastinum is upper level present and heart is present in between the lungs. So the shape of the lungs are it is conical, and there are some lobes are present dividing the lungs. So each lung is divided into lobes by fissure. Okay. So the right lobe, which is bigger, has 3 lobes. Right lung has 3 lobes, and each lobe consists of number of lobules. So there is the outer covering of lungs that is called pleura, made by serous membrane, which helps to cover the lungs. Okay, so here you can see some of the root of the lungs, and so many arteries and veins are connected with this structure. So the medial surface of the each lung has a vertical slit called hilum. Right? Hilum means there is a, here you can see that is structure that is vertically inset. Okay, so that is the hilum. So that structure contains the blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatics that pass through the hilum directly into the lungs. Right. So these structures together constitute the root of the lungs. So here you can see the root of the lungs is formed by pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein, bronchial arteries, bronchial veins, and bronchi, and lymphatic vessels and nerves. And these structures are most important for the oxygen to in and carbon dioxide to out, also for the pulmonary circulations of the body. Right? That is the most important structure: pulmonary arteries, pulmonary vein, bronchial arteries, bronchial veins, bronchi, lymphatic vessels, and nerve. Remember this. Okay. Let's come into respiration. So the respiration rate is like while we are taking the breath in and breath out, it should be 12 to 16 breath per minute. And the respiration is again divided into two types, that is internal respiration and external respiration. Internal respiration means the gaseous exchange happen in between the alveoli and the capillary, and the external respiration means the gaseous exchange happen in between the nostril and the environment, that is the breath in and breath out. So that is the difference in between internal respiration and external respiration. So here you can see exchange of respiratory gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, between lungs and blood is known as external respiration. And the exchange of gases between blood and tissue is known as internal respiration. Right? That is the difference in between external respiration and internal respiration. So what is the mechanism behind internal inspiration and expiration? So in inspiration, air goes into lungs from atmosphere, that is a active process. And in expiration, air leaves the lungs into atmosphere, that is a passive process. Okay, so let's learn about the differences between the inspiration and expiration. So inspiration, as we know, it is an active process, and expiration, it is a completely passive process. And for inspiration, contraction of muscles, that is the external intercostal muscles, and relaxation of internal intercostal muscles occur. So when we take the air in, so there is the contraction of external intercostal muscles, so that with the force the air goes in, and when the internal intercostal muscles relax, so both the contraction and relaxation happens at the same time, so that the inspiration is happening. And what is expiration? How it is happening? Relaxation of external intercostal muscles and contraction of internal intercostal muscles occur. So that's how the inspiration and expiration was happening. Next, the rib cages move forward and outward. So in inspiration, the rib cages move forward and outward. And in expiration, the rib cage move downward and inward. So that is the difference. Also in inspiration, diaphragm contracts and becomes flattened. Right? So that is the contraction of both two muscles, external intercostal and diaphragm. And also that in expiration, diaphragm muscles relaxes and become the original dome shape, like we see in the diagram. Also, in inspiration, there is increase in the volume of thoracic cavity, so that create a space to enter the air in. And also in expiration, the decrease in the volume of thoracic cavity. Also, in inspiration, air pressure in lungs is less than atmospheric pressure. And in expiration, air pressure in lungs is greater than atmospheric pressure. Next, in inspiration, obviously, intake of air into lungs, and in expiration, expulsion of air from the lungs. So that's how our inspiration and expiration is going on in our body. So, how the respiration is controlled by our nervous system, right? So, the respiration is regulated by two controls, that is the nervous control and chemical control. So, the nervous control is regulated by the cerebral cortex, then the pons and the medulla. And the chemical regulation is regulated by the some receptors, that is the peripheral chemoreceptors and the central chemoreceptors. Let's see how. So here you can see the nervous control. So it is controlled by the respiratory center present in the medulla oblongata of brain, right? So from this center, different impulses pass to the diaphragm. So the various nerves are attached in the muscles, right? In the phrenic nerve is attached with diaphragm, internal intercostal muscles attached with intercostal nerves. So these impulses causes the help in the contraction of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. So that help to contract and relax the muscles. So because of that, the inspiration and expiration process are going on in our body. Next, the chemical control. This is affected through the carbon dioxide content of blood. An increase in level of carbon dioxide produce stimulation of respiratory center. Okay, so that respiratory center stimulate and increase the level of carbon dioxide. So it can help in the remove of the carbon dioxide from the blood. Okay, so that is also a reflex mechanism is going on. So because of the chemoreceptors, here you can see the carotid body and aortic body chemoreceptors. So some chemoreceptors also regulate respiration reflex. So these chemoreceptors are carotid body and aortic body. Okay. Also, hearing prior reflex, so that contains some stretch receptors, which helps in the expansion of the lungs that stimulate the receptor. So respiration stop wherever required. It stop and the now lungs collapse and there is no stretch. So inhibition of the respiratory centers through vagus also stops inspiration. Stop again. So there is the once the inspiration start, there is stop of the inspiration and then the next process, that is the expiration, starts. So this is how the reflex mechanism continue. Okay. So let's learn about some respiratory volumes. So respiratory volumes, also known as the lung volumes. So the volume of gas in lungs at given time during respiratory cycle is known as lung volume. So there is respiratory cycles, one respiratory cycles when one breathe in and one breathe out. So in that cycle, what are the volume of gas is present in the lungs in that particular period of time, that is called lungs volume. So let's learn about some term related to respiratory volumes. So first is vital capacity. So vital capacity is the volume of air expelled by a forced expiration after a forced inspiration. So after a forced inspiration, whatever the air is remained in the lungs, that is called forced expiration. So the normal value for that is 4 liter. Next is tidal air. So the volume of air passing in and out of the lungs with ordinary quiet breathing. Like in vital capacity, there is the forced inspiration and expiration, right? But In tidal air, that is normal. If we take normal breathe in and breathe out, whatever the volume of air is available in the lungs, that is a 0.5 liter, that is called the tidal air. Next, inspiratory reserve. So it is the additional volume of air that can be taken in by forced inspiration. So if we take the forced inspiration, whatever the additional volume of air that is reserved in our lungs, that is called inspiratory reserve. So the amount is 2.5 liter. And expiratory reserve, the volume of air that can be expelled by forced expiration after normal inspiration. That is called expiratory reserve, and that is the 1 liter. And then what is residual volume? Volume of air which remains in the lungs on forced expiration after normal inspiration. So that is also 1 liter. So total lung capacity is also sum of vital capacity and residual volume. That is the 5 liter. Exchange of gases. It occurs in two stages. That is exchange between tissues and blood, and exchange between alveoli and blood. So tissues, that is internal respiration, and pulmonary, that is external respiration. So there are some abnormal type of respiration occur. There is the Chinese stroke breathing. That is a form of periodic breathing in which group of breaths are separated by periods of apnea. So there is a abnormality like in severe breathing conditions, respiratory conditions that happen. That is Chinese stroke breathing. So there is apnea means stoppage of respiration of for short interval. That is stoppage means that sometimes the respiration gets stopped, right? That is called in between periodic stopping of that breathing is called Chinese stroke breathing. And apnea means stopping of respiration for short interval. And hyperapnea means increase in depth of respiration. And dyspnea means difficulty in breathing. And polypnea means respiration characterized by rapid rate. And tachypnea means increase in the, sorry for the spelling mistakes. So it is tachypnea means the increase in the rate of respiration, and also one abnormal type of respiration is bradypnea, that is the decreased level of respiration. Then moving to artificial respiration. So are not able to if you are not able to breathe in and breathe out, so there is some artificial respiration we need to arrange in the ICU, right? So it is employed when respiration fails due to drowning, carbon monoxide poisoning, etc. Whatever the cause, we need to do the external respiration or artificial respiration. So there are here you can see the some of the methods of artificial respiration, that is Kapfer's methods and Holger's methods. Compression of thoracic cavity by pressure against ribs, right? Also the mouth-to-mouth method, that is blowing air into lungs by mouth. Also the rocking method for children, and instrumental method, that is Rinker's methods, Bragg Hall method, iron lung method. So those are used for artificial respiration to save the life of the people. Okay. Thank you. Please subscribe to our channel for better pedagogy. Thank you, Nursing Culture.